I'm disappointed,
Okay.
but not at all surprised that we're being asked to vote on this budget tonight. This bill did not need to be on the calendar. Not tonight. We are not pressed for time. There is no looming deadline. The budget doesn't turn into a pumpkin at midnight. There's no emergency that compels us to vote tonight. A bill of this consequence deserves more than a few hours between the committee vote and the floor vote. And I also believe that passing a budget should be the last order of business. Not because it's some sort of tradition, because it's not, because it's the logical thing to do, to make it the last bill of the legislative session. The budget is the one item that keeps everyone in both chambers at the table. So this vote is premature. And then there are the rules that were enacted as safeguards. This body routinely bends the rules, breaks the rules, and it earns a reputation. But to the substance of the bill. We are being asked to rubber stamp a $900 million increase over last year's budget. The governor's original budget was almost $15 billion. But that wasn't enough for the House. So they tacked on an additional $340 million before sending it to the Senate. That's an aggressive 6% spending spike in one single year. And since 2019, the year that I joined the chamber, which is what I use as a benchmark, Rhode Island's baseline spending has increased by 58.8%, almost 60%. The state recently discovered, as I'm sure all of you have heard, an unexpected $233 million in revenue windfall. But rather than returning even a portion of that to struggling Rhode Islanders and those families who generated it, we are using it to permanently expand the size of government. That is not fiscal management, it's fiscal mismanagement. One-time money spent on permanent programs does not close a structural deficit, it widens it. And to cover the cost of this unchecked spending, the budget reaches deeper into taxpayers' pockets with a phased millionaire's tax. But I would ask my colleagues to think carefully about what happens next. RIPEC has stated that there's no pressure to pass this bill, to pass this tax. And when there is a genuine need to raise revenue with this structural deficit, who do we raise taxes on when the high earners are gone? The answer is the middle class. It's always the middle class. And while families are already struggling with soaring energy bills, this budget doubles down on aggressive climate mandates that drive up the cost of living, rigid, arbitrary, and unrealistic green energy regulations that are really not environmental policy, but by a tax by another name. Now, there are things in this budget worth acknowledging. The Inspector General is a step forward. But I want to be on record that my bill gave the Inspector General full authority to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse in all branches of government, not just the executive branch. Having worked on this bill for years, I am grateful to see it make it across the finish line, finally. But as I see this as a leap forward in the right direction, even if it does exclude the legislature. But next year, I'll put a bill in for that. Another initiative from our caucus, led by Senator Morgan, eliminates the state income tax on Social Security, a long overdue reform, but it's not the significant relief that she submits year after year. This budget delivers the smallest possible initial rollback to retired seniors. I introduced legislation this session for responsible, phased-in, across-the-board tax cuts on personal income tax rates, real relief for working Rhode Islanders. But no surprise, it's not in the budget. In fact, there are zero broad-based tax relief for the middle class. Not one. This is not a debate about numbers on a ledger. This is a debate about the grinding, day-to-day, unaffordability crisis suffocating Rhode Island families and small businesses, and whether this chamber has the will to take it on seriously. So I will note, not because I oppose every dollar in this budget and how it's spent. There are expenditures worth defending, but this budget raises taxes on people who are already stretched. It shortchanges seniors and the middle class. And it's on the floor tonight without a 48-hour breather that we owe the people who sent us here to represent them. So I will be voting no on the budget.